what it really comes down to is our users year over year have seen an increase of employee retention of over 44% on average.
Hello, welcome to the new HR show. I'm your host, Mark Jackson, and we have an excellent podcast today. We have Dan Berzansky. Did I get that right, Dan?
You got it right.
Who is the CEO of OneTeam360, helping with the management of hourly and shift workers. Dan has successfully built startups and led the development of OneTeam360, a SaaS solution that gamifies employment, improving training, performance, and overall engagement for part-time workers. So, welcome again, Dan. Can you get us up to speed, kind of catch us up on a little bit about your background and what's brought you where you are today?
Sure. First off, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So my start started as a backyard swim instructor, believe it or not, back in the day. And that was through high school, through college. Coming out of college, took a real job for a moment, went to grad school, finished my MBA and realized that I really was bored with what I was doing. I was kind of that first generation of spoiled brat, millennials who felt like I could do more and do better. And long story short, I started Premier Aquatics. Premier Aquatics still operates today. I still serve as the CEO of Premier Aquatics. So we're a full-service lifeguard service agency in California, Utah, and Arizona. We actually broke 700 employees yesterday. So that was the 31st of May. I don't know if it is a congratulations or I'm sorry, but it's one of them. But we've got about 100 locations that we provide services to, and we also own a swim school brand called Premier Swim Academy. So we do full service swim lessons, indoor swim schools. So those companies are kind of going, and I'm there, and I'm having my weekly kind of touch bases, but for the most part, they run without me. A few years ago, I started developing what I just affectionately called the app. And it was something that we really managed our team with. We were having an issue with retention and engagement amongst our staff. So I brought a developer in-house, and we started building out just a very simple communication tool, tracking tool, which turned into an incentive program and a gamified employee experience. And I joke that I lost a bet, but I decided to go raise a little bit of money. Money came really easily from people who understood what we were doing, and we built OneTeam, and now we're in our second year of operation with OneTeam360, and it's been a hell of a journey, I'll tell you that.
That's great. Can you just share a little bit about what OneTeam360 caters specifically to?
Yeah, and in the way you asked it is exactly right. It's pretty specific. It's a niche product, and it's specifically designed for employers of hourly workers, so hourly or shift-based workers, specifically if there's any level of training or compliance involved. So, we've seen restaurants have a level of success with us, like quick serve restaurants, but then when we get into lifeguard agencies, cannabis dispensaries, obviously swim schools, water parks, amusement parks, family entertainment centers, things where there's a liability and some kind of training component, certification component, whether I'm in the US, it's OSHA, the occupational safety hazard. We do really, really well with those groups. And we've really worked to gamify their training, their employment, their performance, and so on.
Interesting. So what are the benefits of tracking job training, performance, and overall real-time engagement through the app?
Yeah, so really, I'll start at the end, and we can kind of work our way backwards. But what it really comes down to is our users year over year have seen an increase of employee retention of over 44% on average. So what we've done is we've taken their everyday shift, and I was of the mindset of, hey, I'm paying you to get to work, so get to work. And then as soon as we made this shift in our thought process to, hey guys, we no longer have one set of clients, we now have two set of clients. One is the one that pays us, and one is the one that we pay. And we started treating our employees like people we have to win to keep or work hard to keep. Things change for us. So every day we're able to provide every one of our employees with live corrective or celebratory feedback on how they're doing. More importantly, they get to tell us how we're doing as an employer. And we're actually able to see metrics and analytics on how our managers are managing, which managers are winning people versus which managers people are quitting. We can see which employees are excelling as a company where we are struggling, and we can fix things really quickly. It's been a godsend for us. And again, it's had a direct impact on our retention.
44% is a big number. It's interesting. I'm getting the sense that it's more of a regular activity, because a lot of platforms and people talk about having a pulse check with employees, sending out a survey or something like that. Some quarterly, some heaven forbid annually. But it sounds like you're touching them on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been the difference. When we talk about how we're different than the others, and there aren't really many people that do what we do. Ours is a daily interaction with the employees, and that interaction can be something as simple as, hey, that employee checked in on the app, because they clock in through our app. We integrate with a number of time and attendance platforms.
Okay.
So it could be as simple as they check in on the app and it notifies the manager, hey, Dan's checked in, and you haven't interacted with him in X amount of time. Or it's things like in-service trainings, or just what we call our interaction factors. I saw them doing a great job, or I saw them struggling with something. I could provide that feedback. It really is it's an HR platform with a gamified employee platform, plus, a training component as well.
So how do they check in? I assume that they can't check in while they're sitting on a couch somewhere, at home in the basement, checking in on.
I mean, they can try.
So is it geolocated? Like how exactly do you do that?
Yeah. So really, I joke that we are the beauty, and the time and attendance systems are the brains. So we, through our integration, whatever rules they have set up on their time and attendance platform, we absorb. So we do have people who don't use time and attendance, that just use us, and they can check in at any point. The manager has to acknowledge it. And then if you're integrated with a When I Work or Ebola or one of the really great systems, it'll be direct.
Okay, great. I think I did notice that you had posted on LinkedIn talking about the concept of gamifying employment. So can you expand a little bit more? Like you touched a little bit on gamification. Can you just expand on that a little bit more?
Yes, I'll tell you what we know, and I'll tell you what we do. So what we know is that the easiest way to lose employees is just to kind of let them show up and leave, and there's nothing involved. There's no interaction, no engagement, right? So we're at a point where I think the tides are turning, but we've been in a point for the past few years where the employee was kind of in the driver's seat, right? We all needed them. We were all desperate to find more of them. We were desperate to keep them. So when we started talking about gamification, we talked about the fact, like, what does it take to keep them interested in going to the same job and doing the same menial task every day, right? Whether it's cash handling in a restaurant, or whether it's cleaning a warehouse, or whether it's lifeguarding a pool, or whatever it might be. And so what we started thinking about is, instead of the stick, we started thinking about the carrot. What's it going to take to get people excited to come to work and not want to miss a shift? What we I would say settled on, it was a lot of deliberation, so we didn't settle on anything, but every shift that they work, one team, they're eligible for a 1 point or 2 points, however the company that uses us sets it up. My company's, it's 1 point per shift. It is their point to lose if they've checked in. They're eligible for it based on their performance, their trainings, their the completion of their duties, completion of daily reports, however you want to set it up. We manage task management and everything. You either earn your point or you don't earn your point. And the system will legitimately and literally kick out a push notification saying, "Hey, Mark, great job on your work today. Tell us how we did and we'll give you your grade." So you get to give us what we call our 360 feedback, and then you get to see how we rated you. Now, it's never a surprise, right? If someone was late, they know they were late. And we've had a conversation, but it's all documented. So they know exactly what we rated, what we gave them, what they earned, what they didn't earn. We even have it set up where if they're late to a shift, they can lose points, right? And it all happens with automation. So we've really tried to make it, earn points for doing a great job.
And they get that feedback daily, or per shift. What type of feedback do you put in the surveys for to get feedback on the employer side?
You're talking about the 360 feedback? Yeah. So we have two sets. We have manager feedback and we have location feedback. So they have any manager that has interacted with that employee throughout the day. That employee can give them. It could be, did your manager visit you at least 3 times today? Do you have all the tools necessary to be successful?
Yeah.
Is there anything you think we could be doing better? On the facility side are there any unsafe situations in the facility? Is there anything that you think we can do within the facility to make the job easier? Just very simple questions. And I would say, to be completely honest with you, 7 out of 10 times they just skip over that survey. They don't even bother filling it out. But what we found is that the 30%, 20 to 30% that actually do complete it, it allows us to get in front of a much bigger problem before it turns into a much bigger problem. So things like sexual harassment, abuse of customers, things of that nature that, generally speaking, the employee, and we know this generation doesn't like face-to-face. They like it through an app. Generally speaking, the employee just would rather just quit the job and go somewhere else, right? Instead of providing feedback. And I do have an example of that. I sat on one of my pool decks and I'm watching a training going on, and I sat with this young lifeguard for about an hour. I'm just talking to her. We're just hanging out, watching the class. I'm asking her questions about high school and all the other stuff that goes on, and says nothing to me over the course of an hour. The very next morning, we get our reports every night. I get a summary report of the day. And she actually, I'm not going to say she filed it, and it wasn't against me. I'll say that up front. She commented on a sexual harassment situation with one of her managers. She sat next to the owner of the company for an hour and never said a word to me. But anonymously, she went into the app and she reported this issue that would have turned into a much bigger issue had she not had an outlet to do that.
Interesting. It was almost like a place of safety where she felt she could talk about it.
Exactly. And her it's anonymous. Only the owner of the company can see who submitted, which is really, it's priceless.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I did think in the back, sometimes like you get the surveys and the number one, thing in the back of your mind is, they're going to be tracking, they're going to know it's me that I said X, Y, or Z. And is there going to be potentially, some sort of retribution or negative action by that manager or leadership. So it's interesting that you mask that for everyone.
Yep. And even one step better, at the end of the week, the manager gets a report card, which is a very broad macro report card on their grade as graded by the employees that work for them. So, and that is something that we had never seen. I've still never seen it. And it's just incredible what we learn about people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, having those points as well to share with the management gives them a very organized structure in terms of how to build a better organization, because, obviously there's a lot going on, right? So, these are the metrics you're being measured by, and you have to hit these every single day. I think in many ways is powerful and helpful to them.
Yep, no doubt.
That's great. So is there anything else that you can share in terms of how companies leverage the performance data from OneTeam360 to effectively manage employees?
I mean, the only other thing that I would really add is that there's no more gray area with our users, right? So I mentioned that every shift they could be eligible for a point. Those points unlock progression levels or incentive levels, however you set them up. And if I was to go through mine for my company, you would see, get through level 1, you get access to mental health counseling. Get through level 2, you get your first raise, or you're eligible for your first raise. Get through level 3, you get X, Y, Z. As you march through these levels, you can see that carrot that's dangling right in front of you, which has really been huge. But the best part is that it's no longer he likes me or he doesn't like me, or she likes me, she doesn't like me. It's all based on actual data. So we see within the system, employees are notified every day what their grade was. If they've got an issue, they can report that. But when it comes down to leveling up and having a quick touch base review, we don't believe in 6-month or annual reviews. We do it every 20 points. We can actually see a snapshot of when they are due for a raise, as an example. That raise is actually based on their performance. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. There's no personal feelings involved. It's very black and white, which has been nice. It's been really, really nice. And from a liability perspective, I can't tell you how it covers our ass, because it's all black and white.
Yeah, for sure. If somebody has a bad day and they get a bad rating, do you, like, not a horrendous rating, but just they need to be improvement? Does the app give any recommendations or do any coaching to help them mitigate any issues or problems?
Yeah, great question. So we do that through our skill assessments. So if someone, and skill assessment can be anything. On the lifeguard front, we do actual rescue skills and things of that nature. On the customer service side, it's cash handling, it's things of that nature. So it can be whatever you want it to be. However, if they fail a skill, it will actually give them a push notification saying, hey, we need to brush up on our cash handling skills. Please read and watch these videos and take this quiz. And then it'll log it in their employee file that they've done that. So it really does give them that feedback and then tell them how to remedy whatever the issue is. And then we can retest or reevaluate.
Love that you're pushing videos as well. It just, you talk about learning with this generation that, generally gravitates towards this type of employment. They want to find out something, how to do something. It says there's a YouTube, right? Or there's a video there. That's very, very smart. One of the most, I guess, critical issues facing more and more companies is how to retain employees. And, obviously you've shared a few layers of how that, but could you share some more tactics HR managers looking to keep their staff could employ?
Yeah. So, and this is something, it'll be common sense to some and it'll be crazy to others, but we had never to this point had an in-house HR director. We started with this position about a year ago. And I was very deliberate in the fact and how we hired and who we hired. And we didn't hire an HR director, we hired a head of people and culture. And yes, they deal with HR, but really Amber is our head of HR or head of people and culture. Her job is not to, obviously we're documenting discipline and coaching and doing HR things, but I need 80% of her time to be focused on how do we become a better employer? What can we offer to our employees? Again, our other customers, to make them want to stay and make them want to be part of the organization. I will be the first to admit that we spent many years working people to death. And we lost a lot of really great people who just didn't want to do the grind, and especially in an unforgiving workplace. When we made that shift, everything changed for us. And a lot of what we've done is be able to automate it through OneTeam. So a lot of it, we don't have to think about it anymore, right? Birthdays, anniversaries, OneTeam texts them from their manager automatically. It's where we track their favorite candy bars and their favorite Starbucks order, their favorite everything. So we've been able to kind of use this as a tool to be able to go out and do really great things for our people.
It surprised you mentioned all of those those things, the anniversaries and the birthdays and the candy bar and all of those little personal touches that, it's never mind even saying thank you for the job. A lot of people still have the money. Well, the money is the thank you. That's what you get the money for.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. You need to have that regular contact, and it's shocking. Big companies, small companies, just the teams not celebrating simple things, birthdays, just even a simple text message.
It's hard. It's and I consider us small still, and we've got a lot of employees, but I consider us small. It's really hard to track. Before we had an automated system in place, it was, how do you do it? I say our biggest competitor is a spreadsheet, but who's actually owning that spreadsheet and going in every day and making sure it's no one's birthday? And then just the candy bars. It sounds so silly, but if someone picks up a shift last minute for me, my manager is going to show up with the Snickers, not the Reese's, because they love Snickers, right? And when people see that, they're like, "Oh my God, how the hell do you do this with 700 people?" But it really is. We systemized it.
So, kind of give me a glimpse of the people that you significantly help that show up at your doorstep. Are they drowning in a spreadsheet, or what's the typical client that is onboarded with you? What do they look like?
Yeah, 100% drowning in a spreadsheet, but more so they're drowning in figuring out how to train more and hire more. They really, a lot of the people that we bring on, they're struggling just to do something. They have the best intentions, but they just can't get out of their own way sometimes. And by automating it and relying on the technology, things change overnight. So everyone that we've talked to, and everyone has different needs, right? Within one team, we have task management, custom reporting, training, obviously all the birthdays and anniversaries. We have 10 or 15 different kind of pieces within the system. Everybody comes to us for something different. They all end up utilizing all of it, but they come to us for something different each time. But the one commonality is that they don't know how to do more and be better for their team. And that's what we help them with.
Do you have analytics? Like, obviously you get scoring, but I'm thinking, when I see a scoring, it's filtered from, good to bad, or bad to worse type thing. But do you have any micro or macro analytics that you use within your system? How does that work?
Yeah. So I mean, the best example would just be our skill assessment reports, which can really pull location by location, job by job, and how we're performing as a whole, and so we have a quality assurance manager who can literally pull a weekly report and say, okay, here are pain points. These are the teams that are struggling. These are the skills we're struggling with. This is where we're losing people. It's very, very easy to understand. It's a 3-click report. And that's just one example, but we try to do that across the entire platform.
So how long has the platform been live?
Yeah, so we launched last January. We actually we launched beta last January. In May, we went public. We actually, funny enough, we only started marketing it. We're starting it this month. We're starting marketing. We attended quite a bit of trade shows, conferences, really just to figure out who we were and who we were for. We finally feel like we're comfortable with that answer, and our marketing is really just opening up now. So
you kind of opened it in the middle of the pandemic, kind of. I guess the beginning of last year was Omicron, right? It was that.
Yes.
Yeah, we were kind of out of it, and then we were kind of sucked back in.
We thought we were out of it.
Yeah, we thought we were out of it. How did that impact the launch of the system in terms of, I guess, the features and everything that you've worked on with?
So I believe that the impact was a big one, not from a COVID perspective, but from a perspective of the fact that the people that we were selling to and trying to market to were in so far underwater.
Yeah.
They were, we're talking to a manager who's not just managing, but working shifts and cleaning facilities and just, if I tell you, most of them were operating at about 60% of the staff they should have had, and finding the time and the energy to actually sit and look at this was just, it wasn't a reality. So, right now we sit at about 55, 56 clients, companies using the system. And we're seeing it's changing now overnight. Like we're seeing more leads and more demos than that in a week now. And it's, I think people are finally coming up for air.
Yeah, absolutely. The labor market still shows that it's so strong. Actually, I think I saw a report on one of the major networks this morning that it's down to 3.5 or something like that. Like it's strong. Your particular segment, the hourly or shift work, have, generally speaking, over time they've been higher churn positions, have they not? Do you have any statistics on that, or?
Yeah, so the average employer and I'm talking very macro here, right? So our shift-based workers, average tenure is 8 months. So we're talking about, we know, it's not a guess, we know that turnover costs employers anywhere from 35 to 115% of that employee's payroll to retrain and get someone up to speed. It's an absurd number. I mean, even at the low end at 35%, it's an absurd number. We know that they don't stay long, and our goal is to increase that to 2 years. That's our goal. We're going to get you 24 months out of that employee. You'll still have turnover because these people are going to grow up and need full-time salary positions, but we're going to get you to keep them for 2 years.
So you said you increase on was it one specific program or across the board 44% increase?
Average. Yeah.
What does that 44% translate in terms of months? Do you have any idea?
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, we didn't text about it, but I was just personally curious, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, I know on average it was 6 to 8 months increase. But a lot of our people tend to keep them a little bit longer than 8 months. So we were gaining half a year to a year on top of that. I don't know that we have enough data quite yet to tell you the full year. Yeah. But it was right there.
So I think you mentioned earlier in our chat, you were talking about mental health support services, and employee well-being and mental health has gained obviously significant attention in recent years. From your perspective, what role do HR managers or managers of culture and people play in prioritizing and supporting employee well-being within their organizations?
So I would say, let me back up and say that it's not just the director of people and culture, HR, it is the organization that has a responsibility. Someone has to obviously facilitate that, but it is the organization's responsibility. We are learning. It is a weird time, Mark. It's a weird time where I think some of the parents are just so overwhelmed, and we tend to, our employers, the people who use us, they tend to employ 16 to 24-year-olds, 26-year-olds, around that range. What we're finding is that these kids are so under-equipped to live life. And what we're seeing is that in many times it's the parents are underwater, the parents are struggling, they're going through their own COVID PTSD and so on. These kids are coming in, they don't know how to write a resume, they don't know how to, they don't know anything. It's funny, we actually do parent orientations for our employees.
Oh, really?
If you work for us, your parents, you will get paid as an employee if your parents attend an orientation.
And what's the orientation for?
Tell them about the company, what we do, how we do it, what the expectations are, what they've committed to. And it's really been a win for us on the lifeguard business and the swim school business. And I can't remember where the question was going, but really the HR director is I can't underscore how important it is that we're offering some kind of support. And it's really just a matter of having a conversation a lot of the times. So it's training your managers to train their managers to train the frontline folks to just have conversations, right? We talk about mandated reporter training. If you're working with kids, you're a mandated reporter. Well, we kind of take it from the same approach on the employee side, right? Ask questions, check in. How are you doing? We've lost one employee in 12 years to who succumbed to drug use and self-inflicted. That will not happen again. It's too much.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that you have parent orientation, and obviously it's for this specific segment. It's not 40-year-olds dragging their 65-year-old parent, but it's kind of interesting because if you're really selling the parents on the value of the organization, it's all part and parcel of this package that you're trying to keep the employee on the ship sailing in the right direction. You have that influence from the parental side as well. That's brilliant.
Yep. Yeah. We build a whole team of allies. And I also, from a legal perspective, I worry that, we will get sued for something silly and people think we're just a deep pocket that's ready to go to. And I want them to know that we're a great employer who's literally got nothing but the best interest of their kids at heart. And this is what we can do, and this is what you can do to make sure this works.
It takes a village to keep an hourly worker sometimes.
It's wild. It's wild. And again, a lot of our employees are students, full-time students that come balance a million different things, and they don't have the coping mechanisms yet to deal with stuff. So just for the parents, we've had parents remind their kids, like, hey, if you don't want to talk to me, remember, Premier's got that 800 number for mental health counseling, right? And we can see that that's happening. So it's been great.
Have you thought of or integrated any financial education in terms of the stuff that you provide resources with?
Yeah, it's part of it. And we did, I think 2 years ago, we offered the Dave Ramsey program. And then now we're just doing it internally. And we've basically our CPA and our financial advisors, we've asked them to offer up classes every quarter. And if they want more, they can do more. It costs us $0, and our employees get great value from it.
That's great. Do you have any, I know you just kind of started and you're starting to market, but do you have I'm sure you have a lot of stuff bubbling around in your head about where you want to go with this and what your plans are. Is there anything that you can share us in terms of future enhancements or developments?
It's scary in here. I'm just warning you. So my sales team calls it frantic energy because all I do is dream up where this thing's going to go. One, I think we've built a really cool product already. One of the main things that I came to terms with very early is that we weren't going to be able to be everything for everyone. So a big focus of what we've been working on has been just our integration framework, making it really easy to plug and play in any other system, whether it's an applicant tracking system, HRIS, time and attendance, payroll, SwagDrop. We're going to build you in now too. I haven't told you yet, but we're going to build you in. Make it really, really easy to integrate and make one team kind of the hub, and then have all these spokes that can speak into that hub and operate in unison. But then it gets into, just trying to be better and easier to use, and a lot of communication, messaging, chatting, things like that. And then eventually, I'm now racking my brain to see where AI comes into this. Right now, we've got some options, but nothing that's really worth talking about. And just seeing kind of what the next steps are.
That's great. What do you think about trends? Obviously, we just talked about AI. what upcoming trends do you see in the HR tech industry? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, as of late, and I'm happy but I'm sad at the same time, but as of late, we've seen companies starting to pay attention to these sectors, which we were the one and only. Trust me, I didn't want to build a software company. I would have much rather given someone else my money to let them build something. We're finally starting to see competitors pop up and start to put some money in here. We've seen some real big raises happen. We're starting a very small bridge raise right now, and I'm looking at these other guys that have, when I worked, just finished a $200 million raise. So people are realizing, and I'm not sure if you know this, but the hourly workforce in the U.S. It's 60% of the U.S. workforce.
60%?
60. So hourly and shift-based workers are, just think about every restaurant you walk into, every building and their maintenance team and the warehouse team and if you just kind of think about it, I'm looking out my window and every business in my window is at 8 hourly employees. So we're going to see people start to pay really close attention to it, and what they do with it, I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. That's for sure. How can people get in touch? We'll put some links in the show notes for LinkedIn, your website address, but is there anything else that you want to share? Do you have online resources or videos about, what you guys are doing?
Yeah. I mean, so OneTeam360.com is our website. Hopefully by the time this goes out, our new version is launched and rolling. And then obviously LinkedIn, I'll be happy to share my LinkedIn information. But we're here, and the beauty of where we are right now is we love talking to everybody, and I hope we'll get big enough to where there'll be layers eventually. But we love talking to everybody, and we love ideas, and we love use cases. We love kind of looking at some of that stuff, and very, very accessible. So happy to share my email, LinkedIn, and obviously our website.
Oh, one last question. You were talking about plugins. So do you have like an open API, or do you have like a Zapier connection or something like that? How does that work?
Yeah, so wide open API. We make it very easy. And so right now it's available. Anybody with any development knowledge can do anything they want. What we're building is the actual integration framework where it is a legitimate plug and play. Map this field to this field, map this field to this field, which will make it very, very, it'll take zero code to get you up and running.
That's great. That's what old guys like me like to hear, is zero code, drag and drop. Well, thanks so much for all of your time, Dan. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course.
And
thank you.
Just a final closing message to all of those kids out there, young and old, with ideas percolating around in your brain, and in particular to my kids, stay curious. Thanks so much.